You're listening to the Cinema Snarks podcast. I'm Larry,
And I'm Ren.
and today we are going to tell you how we really feel about Lisa Frankenstein and the filmography of writer Diablo Cody. So no, you are not imagining. We are here.
It's happening.
We are back from the dead, like Frankenstein himself. We have arisen. Well, I guess he
Well,
was
actually,
back
it's
from
the
the dead.
creature because the name of the person is Frankenstein. Okay.
And in this movie, he's not really a Frankenstein. He's a
No,
zombie. He's kind of
he's
more of a zombie.
he's a zombie, but also there's Frankenstein elements to it because there's the
It's like a mashup.
electricity
It's a
part.
mashup.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's okay that we didn't delve too deep into the science of it. That's fine. I
Yeah.
actually think it's really more obnoxious in films when they try and give me some logical explanation for magic. It's okay. Give me the magic. That's fine. I'm okay with it.
Well, Lisa Frankenstein, we did not see this one together, but we
No.
both did don some little costumey looks. We both tried to theme ourselves to the
Mhm.
film in different ways. Ren went full on 80s glam for her
Mhm.
look,
Mhm.
and I went like dark, campy
Mhm.
glam. I don't know. I
Mhm.
wore eyeshadow and
You had
lipstick.
that dark cut Susie Sue and the Banshees style, like 80s
Yeah.
goth
I
eyeliner
tried to
vibes.
go
Yeah.
for it.
Oh yeah.
But Lisa Frankenstein is directed by Zelda Williams, daughter of the iconic late Robin Williams. In her film directorial debut, as I said, it's written by Diablo Cody, and it's about a misunderstood teenager and a reanimated Victorian corpse who embark on a murderous journey together to find love, happiness, and a few missing body parts. The film stars Catherine Newton, Cole Sprouse, and the always amazing Carla Gugino.
Carla Gugino. She's so good. I'm also starting to love little Catherine Newton. I've seen her in a few things now. I loved her. She's getting a little spot in the horror comedy
This is where she
renaissance.
shines, because let me just
Yeah.
say, I'll kick it off. I don't think she was good in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania
Oh,
as
I forgot.
the
Yeah.
replacement
To
for
be fair,
Kelsey
no
Lang.
one was good in
It's
that movie.
true, but whoo, the way she delivered some of this, I was like, "Oh, girl, this is not the role for you."
No, no.
But like Freaky, all of these like little
Yeah.
fun, kind of campy, weird
She
horror
does good.
comedies.
She does big good.
This
Yes.
is where her
Yeah.
strength lies. Stay away from superheroes, much like Dakota Johnson, who I just saw
Oh.
in Madam Web. She's much better in small films. Stay away
So,
from the superhero genre.
quick aside on Madam Web. So, I went to go see Lisa Frankenstein with my all of my Galentines. So, we're all roughly in the same generation. We're all 30 to 40 something women, and the Madam Web trailer came on before it. And at the same time, everybody kind of went, I think I want to see that. I think maybe I want to see that. That's how much you want to be able to say after they see your trailer. You want people to be like, yeah, that looks fucking great. I definitely want to see that. But no, Madam Web is looking and sounding like a big old turd ball. But
Yeah.
a web of shit, if you will.
It's a different type of horror film, Madam
Yeah.
Web was for
Well,
me.
it's
I did not enjoy it. I'll segue there now. I watched it and I really did not enjoy it. I'd rather watch
I
Catwoman any day. I'd rather watch Green Lantern any day because at least those are like so bad that they're fun and kind of over the top and
sure.
ridiculous. This is like bad and boring.
This is
So,
bad, and you just have to watch the same scene over and over and over again, right?
I mean, yeah.
I think
Um,
I do appreciate that Dakota Johnson kind of surreptitiously distanced herself from it. She had that
yeah.
with that interview where she was like, "Well, I don't know. I was acting up against a blue screen the whole time, so I hope it's good."
I don't know. And then
Nice.
recently she's like, I'll watch it someday. I haven't seen it yet, but I'll see it at some point, I'm sure.
Poor
So
Dakota Johnson. Two steps forward,
it's
four
been
steps back.
it's been the best part about Madam Web has been Dakota Johnson on this press tour because she's given us lots of great bites. But
Oh,
superhero genre, it's struggling itself and it's certainly not for everyone. And
no,
Catherine
no.
Newton, I do think you're in that ballpark as far as I've seen so far. Maybe you'll come back and I don't know what's going on with any of the characters in Marvel currently. So
Everything's up in the air with
Cassie may never be
what's
back.
yeah, and Kang may never be back either.
He may be recast. We don't know.
I don't know. They might have been able to just seal that off with Loki and just like,
Yeah.
that's it, we're
I
done.
mean,
And then
I did hear rumors about Coleman Domingo, who I absolutely adore. So if he, and he's a great actor, so if he gets it, more power to him.
they're just gonna
But
be like, recast. I think it's
just
fine. Just want to recast.
he can have a variance. That's the good thing, I guess, about Kang is he has all these variants, so you can just be like, it's a
Sure,
Kang variant.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
It's a variant.
Oh
But
man.
back to Lisa
Lisa Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
Catherine Newton was great. Kylie Gugino. I hope everybody has seen the House of Usher,
She's
the
kind
show.
of in her like horror
She's in
bag.
her. Yes, she is. She's killing it. And she's so good in House of Usher. But it's like wonderful to watch her in this movie, just serving so much evil stepmother melodrama. Like, in her little 80s spandex fitness outfit,
Oh my
her little weird
gosh.
nurse ratchet sort of illusion. Yeah, Kylie
Yeah.
Gugino was killing it for the relatively short and small role she had in it. She
Yeah.
killed it.
And I have to say,
Um,
I thought Cole Sprouse was really good too, because he has like no dialogue in this film.
yeah,
He
he's
doesn't speak, and I thought he did like physical comedy
full
really
on
well.
silent actor. Yeah, I did feel like a lot of the like really funny parts were like in the trailer, but I really love the moment where he just picks up the cop and drops her in. To be fair, that little cop was also killing it with her physicality, her little legs flailing, was just like perfect. Yeah, I think Catherine Newton also is just she gets it. Like she's her character is so perfectly weird. It just like hits all these strange notes. And I get her brand of weird and I get the like trope that she is playing. And I love watching her be the weird outcast. I love watching her be the like way too into like the darkness, the like gothic girl who's not actually goth. But
Yeah.
like I was really living once she moves into her like villain era and she's like flipping those amazing costumes as she moves.
Also,
She's
her
got her
wardrobe
walk
is so
down.
good. Like
The
the
costumes in
wardrobe,
this
oh,
film
so
were
good.
incredible. Yeah,
So
the costumes.
amazing.
I thought that the production design itself was really on point. I saw some people that criticized it. I watched it and I thought it was set in the 80s. And as I was watching it, I was like, maybe this is not like the 80s. It feels like the early 90s because like I remember a lot of this stuff. I was born in 87. So like I remember some of this stuff. So maybe it's not 80s. And then she like explicitly says it's 1989. And I was like, oh, perfect.
Perfect.
It like hit the exact thing. Some of the time period stuff didn't line up. Like, oh, that's from like 1992. And it's not, and I'm like, guys, like, did it feel like the early 90s and the late 80s? Did it feel like it fully in every moment? Were there little set
Yeah.
pieces that made your brain go, oh my God, yes, that weird interior design decoration choice from the early 90s, the
Yeah.
weird spiral reed things, no flowers, just spiral reeds out of a vase. That was the choice. Yeah, I thought the production design was
No,
like
I thought it
on
was great
point.
too.
All
Yeah,
the posters in her room were like
oh,
perfect.
perfect. It
Yes.
did a really good job of just evoking like the Tim Burton-esque, Beetlejuice-esque, like that,
Yes.
and that was very distinctly 80s into the early 90s,
Yes.
gothy kind of weirdo kid, Edward Scissorhand type of
The
movie.
morbid kid, the I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with death kid. Yeah.
And it hits the tone of those pretty well as well, where it's funny, but it's
Yeah.
also dark. This one gets pretty gruesome. I was telling Ren, I think they pushed a PG-13 rating pretty much as far as you can without like stepping over the line because it's pretty like bloody. We see a lot of like stuff go down for a PG-13, and I think they had to, even though it's obviously trying to appeal to our age, like millennials,
Yes.
80s kids as well. But you want it to be this teen comedy
Yeah.
still, like comedy horror, so you have to
Mhm.
keep it at an age where they can go watch it.
The teenage girls can still see it.
Yeah.
I saw some comments about how like this was geared towards teenage girls, so it'll do well. And I had this like realization that there must be a bunch of white dudes out there that think that teenage girl is this far more limited genre than it actually is, because young Lisa Frankenstein is not just for teenage girls. It's also like my entire group of like 30 something year old women all went to go see it. It was for millennial women. It was also for the entire queer community that loves camp, that
Yeah.
understands camp, and all the drama that comes with it. Like I think that's a much larger portion of the movie going population than you think it is. And it's just such a white dude take to have to be like, well, it'll appeal to the. Do you understand how broad? Also, I'm like in the midst of the book thing right now, but like romantasy is like written for like teenage girls, but it is like exclusively middle-aged women that are reading all of this stuff. That's where all the money is right now. And like there was this era, I feel like not that recently ago, where everything that teenage girls liked is like lame. And I'm like, listen, all those teenage girls that you thought that everything that they liked was lame in the 90s, right? Like Hanson and
Yeah.
Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. Those women are adults now and they still spend a lot of fucking money. Like Taylor Swift is appealing to teenage girls and she's the biggest economic behemoth in the United States right now. So can we stop dismissing things as like, oh, well, it appeals to teenage girls, so I guess it'll do well. White men, you are in the minority now. Not liking things that teenage girls like, you're the weirdos.
Well, that was what was so great last year. Like, no matter how you felt about Barbie or this or that, is that it was heavily, I mean, it was targeted
Mm-hmm.
at the girls and the gays, basically, is
Yeah.
what it was all about. And they moved their entire film that way. They didn't really try to
Yeah.
appease toward men in the marketing at all. And it
Mm-hmm.
was the biggest movie of
Yeah.
2023. It's like, come on, get with it. We had Taylor Swift, we had
Yeah, guys.
Beyonce, and we had Barbie, the three women who like upheld our economy 2023.
On that note, I would say I think I actually probably liked Lisa Frankenstein better than I liked
Oh, well, I'm not gonna listen. I don't co-sign that, but
Barb.
you
And
take
you're
that
okay.
up
Wait, wait,
purely
wait,
with
wait,
Ren.
wait, wait. Here's okay. Here's my argument. Like, here's what I think with the bar, and we'll talk about all of the best pictures and stuff. But like, what I liked about Lisa Frankenstein as opposed to Barbie, Lisa Frankenstein is tight, right? The
Oh
whole
yeah,
movie.
under
I
an
don't
hour and a
feel
half.
like yeah, it's an hour and a half. It doesn't veer off into a bunch of other stuff that doesn't make a lot of sense or like really tie in. Its tone is clear the whole time. There isn't this weird space where it's like, this is reality. Is it supposed to be reality? No, no. We know it's a like heightened version of reality and it just like sits there in that same spot the whole time. The comedy tone is the same throughout. Like Barbie's feminist tones were very heavy-handed, and I guess Lisa Frankenstein's are pretty heavy-handed too, but they're so like hilariously dark. That darkness put onto it makes it feel I think it's like I don't know. I think Barbie was a comedy, but it wasn't necessarily camp, but this was like intentionally and specifically camp.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I just enjoyed it overall a little better. And it's not that I think that like Barbie wasn't great and fun. I just like I wouldn't watch Barbie every year. I could totally throw Lisa Frankenstein into my Halloween rotation and like rewatch it every year.
Now, Ren, how did you feel about Lisa Soberano, who plays Taffy, her stepsister?
I love the change in the mean girl cheerleader trope. That she's nice. She's the only one who's nice to her. She's just a genuinely good, sweet, kind person. Every time her mom, the evil stepmother, says something shitty, she's like, should you really be saying that, mom? Be nice. Like that's one of the
Yeah.
things that kind of pushes against the traditional 80s 90s high school movie trope.
Mhm.
It does slide back, like I kind of saw that
The reveal,
coming.
the big
The
reveal.
reveal, yes, I saw that coming, although I will say that was like the monologue when she sees that the guy that she is into, who's like the cool guy, doesn't want to be with another cool girl that's into the same things as him, that actually likes all the stuff he does. Like that was a moment I was like living for. Living. I've met so many men. That was such a
Ooh,
type in high school and college, such a type of a guy that like I could sit and talk to him for hours about film and music and all that stuff, but he really wanted to date the stupid pretty girl.
I
Okay,
don't know
you don't want
who's
to
that.
date an a person that's the cool. I mean, like I know this all much more complicated than that, but man, that like ranty little fit, I was like, yes, yes, Lisa, you
Yeah.
tell them.
I know.
Um,
No, that whole scene is just amazing. It like nails the horror comedy perfect. We get
yeah.
blood splatter across like faces with the dramatic expressions, and then we see the shadow of a dismembered body part flying through the air that literally had me like cackling in the movie theater. So I was cackling through that whole part. But I really like because it did seem like at first you were like, uh-oh, what's this girl talking about? Because she's like, I don't think that's necessarily the color for you. You know, she kind of starts with these things, but as the movie goes on, you kind of feel like she's just kind of actually expressing just her, like, I don't know, it's not mean when she says it to her. It's she just kind of expressing how she knows how to express. And
Yeah.
she's trying to help her sister. She's like, no, maybe do your hair like this. Like it looks better. Like
I think I love at the very beginning when she like wakes her up in the morning and her hands in her pants and she's like, it's okay, we all do it. And she's like, oh my gosh, your knees. And she was like, oh man, I was kneeling in the
like,
woods. She was like,
uh-huh.
yeah, me too, girl. Me too.
I mean, I guess that's a good stereotype too, because they kind of like talk this boy up because he's like the editor in chief of the school paper or whatever, and they make him seem real nerdy, and he's actually like attractive when you see him. He's like got like
Yeah.
the like cool guy hair and everything, and you're like, oh, this is the
He's
editor in chief boy.
cerebral.
Okay,
He's
cool.
cerebral. He's in a wheelchair? No. I thought the humor was really good. I laughed a lot at the jokes. I thought it was totally on brand. It was a very Diablo Cody sort of script.
Her
Yeah,
best script in a while, in my
it is her
opinion.
best script in a while, and I think it really it was it's all the, Jennifer's body was the like it was canned when it came out, and it took like years for people to go, oh
Yeah.
wait, this is fucking incredible, actually. And I think I saw Jennifer's body when it first came out, and I was like, I really like this. I don't know why I thought it. Everybody said it
Because it
was
was aimed at
bad.
women. It was aimed at
It was aimed
girls.
at women. Yes, exactly. It was a bisexual horror story. It was incredible, is what it was. And like we don't have anything else like that in the horror lexicon. There is nothing
Still,
even
still to
close.
today. Like
Yeah, Lisa Frankenstein. That's the only other thing that like sits in
well,
that lexicon.
okay, and now we need to chill out Diablo Cody because she's out here talking about they're in the same universe. I'm like, okay, we don't need to do all that.
Oh,
We
Diablo.
Diablo girl, we don't need the
Bro,
Diablo Cody universe, the multiverse over here now. Oh, calm down.
there is this, I think I feel like she probably meant to be like they're similar,
Spiritual,
they
they're
in the
spiritual
same vein.
siblings.
There's absolutely spiritual siblings, and I would buy that, but there's no reason they would be in the same universe. They're in totally different time periods. Like, I mean, I could see, you know what I would be here for if Diablo Cody wanted to start moving into these, making a genre of these films where like she takes like the classic horror
Yeah.
film tropes and puts this like edgy feminist, humorous, campy spin on it. um I did hear, I saw some criticism of like, I mean, I saw some criticism of the movie. I think it's really interesting because like the critics seem to not like it, but like the people going to see it seem to love it. So I
And there is,
definitely,
I've definitely noticed a gender divide. So we will
there's
just say that there's a pretty
the
big
guy.
gender divide
Yeah.
amongst the ones that I've seen.
I mean, I think at its core, when was the last time the general like critic body loved a camp film? They don't get it. It's not a thing they're
I'm
generally
really
excited about.
okay. Let's talk about it. We were talking about this before.
Mhm.
I feel like people don't understand the word camp anymore. So, one, I feel like people try to use camp, and maybe some of you out there will think that's what we're doing here with this film if you didn't like Lisa Frankenstein. But I feel like one, people have tried to make camp into something cool. So, like if it's I mean, it is cool when you look back,
First of all, camp is incredible. It's one of my
yeah,
favorite like
but they kind of use that to
ways to
defend
approach film.
bad. Like they try to if they
Right.
know something's bad but they like it anyway, they'll say it's camp. Like people were describing let me just tell you, straight men were describing Black Adam as camp and I was like,
No.
"What are we doing?"
Well, there's
What?
a very special brand of DC bro that you just need to like, they can go have their little discussions in a corner with themselves because they are not living in the same
No,
reality as
one
the
of them
rest of us.
came at me. One of them like literally came at me and was like, "What? So if it's not Rocky Horror, it's not camp." And I'm like, "Okay."
Sir,
I'm
you
like,
seem to understand the core example. Now compare it, and you have already answered your own question, friend.
just by being a multi-hundred-million-dollar film.
It's already, yeah. Yeah, I think a low budget has to be a part of it. And so this is an interesting thing because I think camp has to be in weirdly has to be intentional. It can't just be an
Oh yeah,
accidental thing, but it does seem to happen sometimes accidentally. But like, okay, so like The Room,
The Room.
I wouldn't call The Room campy
It's
because it doesn't quite fit that definition. It's not
it's
intentional bad.
not.
And it's melodramatic because they don't know what else to do. They're not good enough to like make it good. The
It's
script isn't
cult
good
classic,
enough
and
for it
that's
to
the
be
other
good.
thing. We have to differentiate between cult classic and
Yes.
camp. You know, like
Often, yeah,
they
often
do.
campy films become cult classics because they don't necessarily fit really well into the zeitgeist, into the like critics, into the box office appeal.
Yeah,
But like, right, like we do them a lot, like Hedwig and the Angry Inch. That's another
yeah.
example of like that's a camp film. That's an absurd camp film. It was made to be camp. It also seems weird that people don't understand camp when drag has gotten as big as it has in these like this time period. Like, guys,
And
all right.
and we can't even say it because like some people are like, oh, Drag Race has really like kind of diluted what it is. But RuPaul, so we can't use that here because RuPaul is camp. Like he loves camp. His entire comedy style is camp. So all those little acting challenges, he makes sure to write them camp. Like he doesn't
Yes,
give you anything serious. He
yes.
loves camp.
But I'm a
He loves it.
cheerleader. That movie is camp. It is designed to be camp. And every single drag film, every Hurricane Bianca, Katya, all those drag films, those are camp.
All of them.
Some is better than others, but like I agree. I think people don't necessarily understand the
Yeah.
term as it's applied. It's like an intentional form of satire, and it's not, and it's really, I think if you understand anything about the concept of like a melodrama, there's like a very specific way of acting that you lean into these tropes. It's very big, it's very gestures and facial expressions based. That's kind of the like grandfather of camp, is
Yeah.
the like melodrama style of acting, and like uh moving that into like a comedy and playing more with like colors and costumes and things like that, and like starting to make commentary
Yeah.
on the thing that you're making fun of,
And
is
that's
when
the
it
thing.
starts
You have to
moving
have
into
the
camp.
stylistic choices to match like the
Yeah,
acting or the dialogue. So that was a big discussion this past award season with May December when that came out. So before I actually sat down and watched the film, I was hearing camp, 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 left, right, and center about how much a camp it
yeah.
was. So I went in like, oh, okay, I think, all right. I was like geared up and ready. And I was like, this is not camp. Wait, what am I
No.
watching? This is like, yes, it's melodramatic.
Yes.
Yes. But
But it's
it
not,
doesn't
but not in the style of like the melodrama that if like you talk to a fucking theater kid, they're like, no, 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 that's like, no, that's not what that is. But if you show them the walk that Lisa Frankenstein has when she becomes a villain, that is drama, and that is melodrama. That
I
is
know.
camp,
Another
right?
and horror comedy is a great place for camp.
Yes.
When they hit it right, oh, it's so good and it sings. We watched a film together that literally, like, my friend Tyler is the only other person I think I know that has seen it other than us two, and that was In Fabric, that dress horror movie.
Yes.
That was pure camp, like just camp, right down to the dress being the killer of the movie. It's just
Yes.
like that's camp.
Yes. Yes.
And if you watch it, that ending sequence with that woman in the wig, oh, this is
Yes.
just, I mean, it's so good. But
Yeah.
watch In Fabric if
And
you
I think
haven't.
there's also something about the way that like horror has, I think, because there's so many like bad horror movies and there's
Yeah.
so much like culture surrounding horror, without it being like, horror doesn't get the awards acknowledgement. Like
No.
horror is never like thought to be high art, and just like because of the nature of horror, everybody's screaming, big things are happening. It's so rife for camp to come and like imitate it, right? So yes, I agree. That's a May December was, I would call it surrealist satire, but I would not call it camp. And
I
we
was
could have
just
a
really
whole
confused. I was
discussion
like,
about May
yeah, I mean,
December.
she makes a comment about the hot dogs, and people were like, "Camp." Like, I don't know. She has a lisp, so people were like, camp. I guess I don't. The
I think
music choice could like
yeah,
see they could have. They were on
it,
the Todd Haynes
it could
could have
have
given
been,
us
yes.
camp.
It could have been camp, but it wasn't. If he wanted it to be camp, he did it badly. He just didn't, he did not understand the assignment, and he didn't go into it hard enough. And I think it could have been camp. I can see the like glimpses of it,
Yeah.
but like without, because he just didn't do a good job of it if that's what he wanted it to be. Um
And that's
it'd
the
be
thing is Jennifer's Body also has a lot of elements
camp.
of
Yeah.
camp to it, as well as just, I
Yeah.
mean, how
I
can you not
wouldn't
love?
yeah,
It's not full on.
I wouldn't call it full
It's
on
not.
camp, but it absolutely was like horror comedy full on.
Yeah.
In an era when I think horror comedy was not in its prime.
No.
I think that Megan Fox had her own baggage that
Yeah.
created problems for Jennifer's Body, just meaning that like Megan Fox was such an incredible hot girl, and her being like a bad actor, hot girl, became this whole thing of like automatically dismissing her because of who she was. But the movie is so good. It deals with like it has a bisexual lady. It's like the only thing I got. There's not a lot of like, places that lean into that, especially in that like weird friend space
Yeah.
where you start to get weird and jealous, and you don't really know what's going on there, and like, why are you with this guy? He's kind of lame.
And then you're
Um
killing boys.
and then you're killing boys. Yes.
I mean, it's just it's
And
so
I
I'm
love,
so glad.
yeah, I think, yeah, and the feminist elements of it too
Yeah.
are incredible, right? Like just her her lying about being a virgin, and then because that's what you do. Of course she would lie to them about being a virgin. They made it clear they wanted a virgin, and so she just
Yeah.
lies about it, and then because she wasn't a virgin, she becomes this demon, which I think is a great concept. That's an excellent hook for a story already. Is they like try to make a sacrifice, and then that's what happens. I would love a sequel to Jennifer's Body. I think that could be a good time.
I think
I think it's got some,
Diablo, she's trying to strike because she's talked about that too. So she's trying to
yes.
strike now, and I'm like, okay, off of Lisa Frankenstein, I'm more open now to you writing a sequel
Yeah,
because before I was like, girl, just leave it where it is. I don't know.
yeah,
Recently, that writing, them scripts
yeah.
have not been
I
my favorites.
I saw somebody criticized Zelda Williams as like an inexperienced director, that maybe the film would have been better if they had a more experienced director. But I personally think this is an incredible effort on a for her debut,
Yeah,
and she understood the fucking assignment. Like I think we all have a special place in our heart for Robin Williams. Like I think for me, he was always like my cool, fun uncle. Like that was kind of the like love I had for him. And so it feels like my cousin got to direct a film, and oh, I hope she does a good job with
yeah,
it. And I think she did an incredible job. I think she like, I mean, first of all, we don't have enough women directors. We definitely don't have enough women directors doing comedies. And I think she fully understood the assignment. Like I think
yeah.
she knew what she was doing with that script. I think she knew what she was doing with her vision. I think that movie had clear fucking vision. I wasn't confused
Oh,
at all
no,
about what she
yeah,
was doing or what she was
I
going
agree.
for. I understand why my some people might have been confused about what was going
Oh,
on and what
when we
like the
get that
point of
like
it. But
sequence though, the like Bride of Frankenstein sequence, it's
Mhm.
so good.
Yes,
Like,
oh, her dream sequence was
yes, it's so
incredible.
good. Like,
Uh,
see, that's what I'm talking about, and I'm sure you're talking about. Like, it just strikes that tone so perfectly, and it's a large part, I think, due to
yeah,
Zelda Williams, and I think she
yes,
does a great job finding that balance, and
yeah,
she gets the style down because, again, we could have had the great writing, we could have these great performances, but if the director
yeah.
is wanting
To
to
make
make
it
something,
cohesive, yeah,
it's
yeah.
not going to come through, and then it's going to fall
Uh,
flat, and
and honestly, I
it
think you
doesn't.
need an incredible director to steer that kind of large choice making on
Yeah.
your actor's part. Like you need a really good director that's there to make them feel comfortable making really large choices, and you need a director who's there to like pick the right big choice, right? Like make a
Yeah.
few big choices and like, ah, yeah, that's it, that's the one. Move a little bit more of this, do this little weirdness. Like, yeah, no, Carla, like really dig in.
It is
I'm
fun
gonna
because
zoom in here, and so I want to like see the terror in your face,
yeah,
the panic
Carla, has she
rising
gotten
in your eyes.
when's the last time she got to do something just like this out there and crazy and
Fun, Carla
fun?
Gugino. I mean,
Yeah.
did you watch House of Usher? She's pretty out there. She basically plays the
I
like
just
embodiment
with
of
the
death.
black eyes. Well, she loves what's his name, and he loves her because she was also in the what was it?
Flanagan.
The yeah,
Yeah.
Mike Flanagan, the body, Gerald's Game movie.
Yep, Gerald's Game. She's
Um,
also in Haunting of Hill House. Yeah,
d-
she's part of his like
yeah,
yeah.
his little
I
group,
love I have like a total like Matt like
Mike. It's
Mike
Mike
Flanagan.
Flanagan.
Yeah, Mike Flanagan. I've seen every I
Oh,
realized I had watched a bunch of them and I was like, "Oh my God, I think this guy might be incredible." And then I looked at
oh, maybe we need
like
to do a Mike Flanagan episode because I
yeah,
also really enjoy Mike Flanagan and think
he's
if we
got
dub somebody right now, like the horror director, for me, it's him.
he
Like
is killing it.
because
Yeah,
he doesn't
he's
really miss. Like other
yes,
horror
no,
directors, they'll be
yeah,
great, and then they have like one random, like,
yeah.
oh God.
Whoopsies. Yeah, no,
But he
he's
miss.
got, and it's like high-minded horror. I
And they're
really
scary. So it's
appreciate.
not like
Yes.
he's also not
Ugh.
trying to
But
be
he
like a
also hits,
chore, it's
yes,
not
he
too a
scares you
chore.
in like a genuine, like, oh my God, I just jumped. That was fucking
Yeah.
scary way. And he also scares you in a like existential, oh my God,
My mind is effed.
humanity way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, we were talking about Zelda Williams,
But
but I do think she did an incredible job on this
yeah.
film. I think
And
it
I'm
was
excited to see what she does next.
clear.
Like this,
Yeah.
it does what a debut directorial job should do. Make a good movie first and
Yeah.
foremost, and then make me excited to like
Yeah.
see what is
For
coming up
sure.
with Zelda and hope that she gets more opportunities to do work, which,
Yeah.
we have all these discussions about Nepo baby, so I'm sure she will. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
I
of
think
course
she has
she's
a little bit of a more safety net than maybe some other female directors making a debut, but
but
I'm
there's
not
also
mad
a
when this is it.
really big difference between like going from like if she was it would be different if she was an actor, but it's such a big different leap
Yeah.
to go from your dad is an actor to you're trying to be a female director. You're like that's pretty that feels like she
Yeah.
would have had to struggle at see like there's certainly name
And she's
recognition.
done like music videos and stuff. Yeah, so
Yeah.
she's been on the base level. She's been out there doing music videos, getting her like experience in the
Yeah.
small form.
I was thinking while I watched it, like what she probably got from her dad for sure. Is she understands what's funny. She gets comedy. Like,
Well, her dad did star in camp ridiculousness as well himself. I mean, he donned the drag for us, and he
that's
also starred
true.
opposite Nathan Lane, who just gave us
Yes.
everything we needed. So, her dad has spent plenty of time around the gays, so she
Yeah.
she knows her way
I
around.
think I think she
She,
was has a good education in the
she
camp and put it on display here in this film. So yeah,
But yes,
uh,
please go check this out. I also think it
please.
makes, it's past Valentine's Day now, but we still have the residuals going on.
It's a super fun date night movie for sure.
It's like
Go take and
funny.
you can. I took my friends who don't like horror movies to go see this because I
Oh,
knew it wasn't.
yeah.
It's going to be. It's not like scary,
It's
scary. It's
PG-13 again.
yeah,
Like it pushes the boundaries when it comes to blood, but it's never like scary. So
yeah,
if you're somebody who gets scared easily, you might, I don't even know that you'll get squeamish. Like
yeah.
it's really not like,
I would call it a perfect Halloween movie, right?
yeah,
It's like
it's
right because
fun.
I don't horror for Halloween. I like spooky and fun, and I think this is right up there. It's certainly
It
going into
has
my rotation for
I
sure.
know some people have criticized that they like, do we consider this a romance or do we not consider it a romance? I think it has enough of the elements that, yeah. I
Rom
mean,
com, yeah,
well, because
it's a
they're like,
rom
she's
com.
pursuing the other guy and not really our
That
male lead
absolutely
for the
happens.
majority.
That happens in romantic comedies all the time, where the girl is
I'm also
going
like,
after the wrong guy.
we also have like masturbation scenes,
Yes.
mutual
Oh man,
masturbation.
the whole thing with the Hitachi one, that's another like, oh, it's such a like 80s, 90s like iconic thing. So good. I did think that Cole Sprouse, what is he in Riverdale? I've never seen him in anything else, but
You did not grow up on Zach and Cody, The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, little
is
baby Cole Sprouse.
I did not.
Okay, that was him and his twin, Dylan Sprouse, were the little Zach
Oh,
and
wait
Cody
a
on the
minute.
Disney show.
That kid? So he was
Hmm.
the one who was in Big Daddy,
Big
right? When he was
Daddy.
in the middle.
Yep, that little
That was him
boy.
all grown up.
Yes, Ren.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Ren.
Oh,
That's
I had
him
no idea.
now.
That's him now. He's an adult.
I thought, yeah, he was great. I thought our entire cast, again, maybe
The
some of the
cast was
like
solid. I liked the dad
background, but
too. I thought the dad was like consistent, pitch perfect, like wholesome, oblivious dad.
yeah,
I was hoping they might do something a little bit different with the mom and the axe murderer who killed her mom. I thought I was like, oh, maybe they'll find out who the killer was.
yeah,
It was part of the all of the horror like tropes and the
yeah,
horror like little nods and like nostalgia buttons throughout it. 80s, 90s
yeah,
buttons. They literally managed to get a damn it Janet in there, which is yes. I think also they knew who their audience was. They know
yeah,
who, like the people who don't like it, you're not the audience. That's not they didn't make this film for you. If you think you might like this movie, you will.
yeah,
I would put money on it. If you like me saw the trailer and like, yes. I'm actually going to plan an entire outing around this so that I can wear
yeah.
a ridiculous costume and go do this because it sounds fucking great. Then, yeah, I think it delivered fully on what I wanted it to be. I was
Man,
not disappointed in any way.
I'm just so glad we both liked it because I always like once I get out of a movie and I like love it, I get nervous. Because even though I was pretty confident, like after I saw this film, I texted Ren, I was pretty confident that she was going to really enjoy this.
Mhm.
But then I was like, I feel like I've been confident before, and then my friends just they don't vibe with it like I expect them to. So I was like, oh God, what? She's gonna be like,
Yeah.
because Ren is, she thought it worked here, but sometimes Ren is a little bit of a stickler for like specific side, like making sense in like weird shit. And so
Yes, your plots have to make sense to me.
this
Yes.
movie just glosses over all that bullshit. Like they're not, they're, listen, if
You're
you want
allowed. If it's
scientific
camp,
anything,
yes, no.
it's a tanning bed. Electricity in a tanning bed is your science. There is
Yes.
electricity running through. That means we can do things. You just have to roll with it, kind of thing. So I was like, maybe she'll like, I don't know, be like, it didn't make sense or something, or
No,
be like
no,
bitter there. So I was so relieved when Ren was like, no,
no.
I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it. I
Oh,
thought it
thank
was
God.
super fun. Yeah, like I
Especially
said, it
like,
was tight. Oh, thank God. And like an hour and 45 minute like movie. Like, oh
oh God, could you
God.
imagine if they dragged this out over 2 hours or
No,
something?
and it would have sucked if you added an extra half an hour. It would have like the pacing would have been off. It would have like
Yeah,
it had a great arc in terms of like the buildup of the crime and the we've been caught and now the denouement and now the drama and how everything unravels. Like it moved really really well, and I
yeah,
never felt at any point like okay I could have skipped like half of this. Like I don't I think it was really well
yeah.
edited too, right? Like
Me too.
I don't think I could think of any piece of I would say 80% of films I have seen in the last 5 years, possibly more, there is at
Right.
least 10 to 20% of the film that I'm like, I didn't need that. Even Barbie, right? Best Picture, really popular, could have absolutely cut out the entire thing with the Mattel board and CEO thing, and the film would have been tighter and would have made more sense and would have been a lot clearer. We didn't need the whole extra. It ended up being like three different storylines.
Yeah,
But like this movie, I couldn't point out anything to you that I'm like, oh, you could have just deleted that character. You could have just deleted that storyline and it would have like moved a
yeah.
little faster and it would have made more sense. It wouldn't have distracted from the story. Like I thought it was right on speed, on
So
tempo.
we both loved it. So go see it if you haven't yet. Give it a
Yes.
shot. Like Ren said, if you feel like the aesthetic, particularly if you look at that and you've seen the trailer and it looks fun to you, don't listen
You
to
will
the
like
Rotten
it.
Tomato score right
No.
now. It's not, it's at like 50% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Don't listen to that. Just go in. Like if you get it, you
Yeah.
get it. If you don't, it wasn't for you. Move on. You know,
Yeah.
it's one of those kind of movies.
I think it's really hard to intentionally create a cult classic. This thing is an intentionally created cult classic that will I it has cult classic written all over it. Like
Yeah.
it's actually almost to its advantage that the general critic
Yeah.
consensus is negative because it was only going to add to the excitement of people finding it and going, oh my
Absolutely.
God, why
Yeah.
did everybody say this is bad? This is great. This is so
It's
fun.
pretty similar to Jennifer's Body. I mean, it's
Mhm.
turned into that, which again has kind of gotten that reevaluation treatment, which
Yeah.
I guess is a perfect way to segue us into Diablo Cody's
Yeah.
further filmography with
Yeah.
Jennifer's Body, which just recently, pretty much, I would say over the last like maybe 5 years or so, people have
Mhm.
kind of revisited that film and been like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. This
It's
is y'all
it's
told me this was terrible and it is
it's
good.
it is good. It's actually pretty frequently in my rewatch, my Halloween rewatch bin because it's just fun. It's not like
Subversive and ridiculous.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
Megan Fox is one of her best roles in her entire career. She kills
It
it in this
yeah.
movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amanda
Yes.
Seyfried, little baby Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah. Her little journey. Love
So
her
good.
little boyfriend, her little innocent little relationship with her
Yeah.
guy. It's
And
got so
much
many
like this, it hits the notes of like because okay, obviously if you go to IMDb and look at Diablo Cody, she writes feminist movies. Like
yeah.
her
That's her
subset
whole vibe.
is female leads, female stories.
Yeah.
And I think she's at her best when she's having more fun. And
Yeah.
like Lisa Frankenstein, like
Agreed.
Jennifer's Body, because when she gets too serious, ugh, I think we fall off the rails a little bit
Yeah.
personally. But I'm so glad that people revisited and have like learned to appreciate Jennifer's Body over the years.
Yeah, I actually think I generally like her more when she is agreed, when she's leaning more into like the comedy full on and there's a bit of like the ridiculous of it.
Yeah.
I think that actually works a lot better for her style. So I suggested also that we cover Diablo Cody because so her big break, so she was like kind of in the zeitgeist. She had gotten a lot of like interest because she'd started a blog about how she was a stripper for a year. She'd read a memoir about it that had gotten some buzz going. And so she basically got kind of like pushed and encouraged to write a screenplay. And she wrote Juno. It was her first screenplay and she won an Oscar for it. And like people fucking loved this movie. And I did not. I hated Juno when it came out. It was my La La Land, my original La La Land, where it was like I like saw it and I was like, I kind of didn't like it. And everyone was like, oh, it was really good. And then like I literally saw it at like a movie premiere. Like I was like friends with a guy at the time that got tickets to all these like early things. So I literally saw it before anyone else. Same as La La Land. And then I was like, oh, I don't think I like this. And then as I watched everybody else get really, really excited about it, I was like, no, this is stupid. So I think my main problems with Juno really came down to I think Juno is an asshole. I don't like the character of Juno at all. And I think you're supposed to like her in this film. I think on a personal level, I didn't like Juno because I was the weird quirky girl. I sat in that weird group where I was like not part of this group. I wasn't part of this group. I was the social outcast person, not in a like I'm a weird nerd and people bully me way, just in a like I don't quite fit in anywhere and it's fine. So it felt like she was supposed to be someone that was similar to me, but it felt like it was wrong and that she didn't do a good job of making a me. Like I think that was really where it came from is like it was also like this manic pixie dream girl character I thought was sort of to be created to represent me. And again, I hated it and didn't enjoy the way she actually says a lot of like douchey things throughout the film. Like she's like a totally thoughtless person. She's just like isn't kind and you're supposed to like her because she's quirky and I didn't at all. And one of the big things I really hated about it is that I had to rewatch it again, like literally right before we did this, because I was like, maybe I just didn't like it when I was 20 and I was like personalizing it too much. And I think I rewatched it again as an adult and I did the same things that I did as a teenager, where like she would say something that was like snarky, and I was like, that's fucking inaccurate. Like she said there's a line where she's like, they're watching a horror movie and she's like, this is better than Suspiria. You've got excellent taste in slasher movies. And I was like, Suspiria is not a slasher movie. That was like, had my little like,
True.
And there's also just like other things that she said that were supposed to be like, oh, I'm smart and cool. And it was like, no, that's inaccurate and wrong. And right, like the nerd part of me was like, I don't think like so that was a problem is that like I was that kid and she did it wrong. And Diablo Cody is like about 10 years older than me. So she was basically writing somebody who was like roughly in my age range. And I think she just like I think the older people that watched it all really liked it. And you know, everybody liked it. I was
That's true.
absolutely the minority, but like I really didn't like it. And my best friend, who was also, you know, similar to this type that she was writing, also didn't like it. I think the other things we hated is that like they make her into they like repeatedly in the film they make her out to be this like punk. She loves punk music. It's her favorite band is the Stooges and Patti Smith and the Runaways. And like my response to her favorite band is the Runaways. I was like, you can't the Runaways can't be your favorite band. They literally put out like one album because again, right? So like the nerd in me is like, and like I'm not even into that into punk music, but she makes a lot of these like smarmy comments about how she's into punk music, and you don't hear any fucking punk music in the entire fucking film. It's the whole
That is
thing is
weird.
about like rock and punk. No. And like the soundtrack is like music that I do like. It's all like fun, kind of like late indie music. But like of course the like music nerd in me is like you cannot make me a fucking character that is supposed to be a music nerd that's like pivotal to their whole character, right? Because they bond with the
Yeah.
husband over it and then completely don't acknowledge their taste in music or play their music or anything and make it
Yeah.
like incidental to the entire
Yeah.
like soundtrack of the film. So these are
It's
all things
definitely
that
an odd
bothered me.
directorial choice for
Yeah.
sure.
It's fucking Jason Reitman was like a 20 something dude and was like,
Yeah.
I like this music, so this is
Jason
what we're gonna
Reitman also,
do.
I feel like he kind of hit his peak around this time too, and has
Yeah.
been whoo churning out some not great films for some time at this juncture, if you ask
Well,
me. But
and so I don't and I think that maybe part of it is I didn't like Diablo Cody when she was writing she was basically writing somebody who wasn't her, that wasn't like her age and wasn't like at her at the right time period, what have you. But I actually really liked the other ones. Like I liked Tully and I liked Young Adult.
oh, okay.
I really liked Tully a lot. I just thought that one was so interesting and weird, and I thought it approached a thing that we don't talk about nearly much enough, which is like the being a mom and like losing your younger self. And I just thought Tully was really interesting. I like Young Adult because I like Patton Oswalt and Charlize Theron is fun to watch. And those
Young
were all
Adult just wasn't as funny as I wanted it to be. That's like that was
well,
my big takeaways. I wanted it to
and
be
neither was Tully, but I think that's like I actually
Tully. I guess I went into Tully viewing it a little bit more as like a drama with comedy elements. Young
uh-huh,
Adult, I felt like they kind of like made it look like it was about to be like Bad Santa
uh-huh,
style comedy, like one of those bitter,
yeah,
raunchy comedies. This older person just doing bad
yeah,
shit, and you're like,
yeah,
okay. And then you watch it, and you're like, oh, okay. I
no,
mean, I love
yeah.
Charlize. I will say though, Charlize Theron, particularly for me in Tully, is amazing. She's so good.
Yeah, I think and I don't know if the scripts would work as well without a really really good incredible
Yeah.
actress
Did you see Ricky and
selling
the
them.
Flash with Meryl Streep?
I did not. Was that any good
It's
or
okay. It's another one that, well, see, sometimes she tries to do this like rock shit too. Like that's what that's about. And it's about obviously an older woman like trying to grasp on to her youth as well. So
uh-huh.
obviously she was going through some stuff. She was yearning for youth for a while.
I think we
Now she's
all
back to
get
just like,
that.
let me relive my golden days with Lisa Frankenstein. But there for a while, she's like, youth.
I think for a while she was really trying to make like stuff that was super meaningful,
Yeah.
and Lisa Frankenstein is just fun. And you know what? Sometimes I just want I think
Yeah.
Diablo Cody might be in her element when she's just writing stuff that's supposed to be entertaining. Like,
I think I'm trying to remember. So young adult, because I'm like, ooh, if I'm being honest, it's been a while since I've even
yeah.
revisited something like Juno, which I did like. But
Everybody did. Patrick was watching it in the background. He was like, "This is a great movie," and I was
yeah,
like,
it's a fun film. I also usually don't think the characters are as big of assholes as Ren. Usually I like the asshole a little bit more than Ren does. So there you go.
uh,
So there's that's
such an
that too.
asshole.
But like young adult, I found the Mackenzie, the character a little bit. She was like a little bit strange to me. So that was the one thing in young adult that I was like, "What the fuck is going on? Like, what is that? Okay." Like I would like it, and then I would pull back and be like, "Wait a minute, what is?" That's hold on, Diablo. That see, it's that in this weird like realism, but not really real. Like she was telling like a real story, but then
Uh-huh.
tried to incorporate in this kind of almost fantastical element with this Mackenzie Davis character that you were like, wait a minute, what the fuck? Just make it about like she's the babysitter. Like I don't know, because it starts going off the rails by the end.
Yeah. I think I understand it a lot.
I feel like you would start just sobbing even that if you watched it now, Ren, as an
Yeah,
actual
I
mother. I feel like
so
you would
I,
just
rewatching Juno too. There was other parts of Juno where I was like, I had looked it up. Diablo Cody had not been pregnant at that point, so like there was things that she said where she was like she's in her like second trimester and she was like complaining about heartburn. And I was like, she wouldn't have heartburn yet. The baby's not big enough to shorten her esophagus and like cause the fucking heartburn. I know. So I'm like, exactly. So I think there were just these like little things, and I'm watching it again as an adult. I felt so much more for the Jennifer Garner character, who's just like wants to be a mom so badly. I think I liked it more as adult again, mainly because I think the adult characters are so good. Like I think Juno sucks, and I think that was why I didn't like the film as much when I was younger, is that because that's the character I'm supposed to like connect with and
yeah.
identify with that when I'm a 20-year-old. But like now as a 36-year-old, I think the parents were incredible. I think they handled Juno being an asshole really well, right? Like there's a moment where she like comes back from the dudes, the guy who's supposed to adopt the baby, that like they've been hanging out for a few hours. She just like drops in, and her stepmom is like, you can't just show up at their house. You can't just like hang out with a married man. That's just like not how these things work. It's just like I get friends that are married. It's just like you have literally no idea how the boundaries of marriage work at all. And that's Allison Janney like killing it.
Oh
She's
wow.
also weird and quirky and obsessed with dogs, which I love. And J.K. Simmons
Always.
is so good as the dad. He
Yeah.
just like kills it. Jennifer Garner right again as the love interest, and like Jason Bateman as this like man child, this like embarrassing, like like stressfully embarrassing man child. Watching it again as an adult is like, oh my god, this guy. I love Jason Bateman, but like watching it again as an adult is like, oh my god, this fucking red flag machine. Oof, he's awful. So yeah, I think I liked it a lot more watching like the adult characters as an
Yeah.
adult than I liked it. I didn't notice enough of like I didn't appreciate those adult characters. But I think she makes really yeah, so then like the rest of her movies like really focus more, and I think I like that about these like real adults and adult life. And so I think Tully, for me, I really get I got an incredible baby. She's an incredible baby and she sleeps so well. But I'm part of a birth group and I got so incredibly fucking lucky. And I understand just by like extension the absolute like mind fuck it is to have a newborn and not have sleep, to just be like delirious. And man, I can't imagine it with like she has two other kids already in the
Yeah.
movie, and then she has this newborn. And like so I can totally buy it all kind of going off the rails and getting wonky, because that's what it feels like to be completely sleep deprived, where like things just stop making sense or connecting to each other, right? And you know me, I'm typically like, this just doesn't make any sense. I'm okay. If you framed the
Yeah.
entire thing as like, this is a sleep deprived parent that's having a little bit of a nervous breakdown, I'm like, okay, okay, yeah, sure, yep, I'll buy it. I'm okay with it getting all wonky and weird. That's okay.
Yeah.
She also did the United States of Terra, which I don't know if you watched that
I
show,
have
but I
not.
loved it. Toni Collette playing a person with DID. As I understand it, it's not a particularly accurate portrayal of
No.
what that disorder actually is like, but it was very interesting. It's little Brie Larson, her
Oh,
first little foray into
really?
acting. Yes, she plays the daughter. Um, and little what's his name? John Corbett plays the husband, and everybody loves John Corbett. He's America's DILF.
Yeah, no, obviously. When I look at her page, I'm like, oh no, I haven't seen any of these TV series.
Yeah.
But I've seen all
Uh
but like one or two of these movies. But
yeah, United States of yeah, I've seen almost all of her films. That's another reason I was like, we should talk about Diablo Cody. But and yeah, I watched every single episode of United States of Terror. I love that show. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was really fun. So there, I think Diablo Cody for me, she's like very hit or miss. I think it's really interesting that the thing she got the most praise for was the thing I like the least. I really liked the stuff where she's trying to really delve into realness, but I also think she's, Lisa Frankenstein, she's just leaning into pure
yeah,
entertainment. She wants to make something that everybody's going to enjoy. And she's doing that thing that I love where she's like hiding the message in there. She's like, it's not
yeah,
super buried, but it's like you can see all these like feminist things right there. Same thing with Jennifer's body. Like you can see them not too far below the surface. I think
yeah,
horror is an excellent vehicle for
yeah, yeah,
her in terms of like she can make something that's highly entertaining and can get all of her ideas out there in a way
yeah.
that's like fun without being getting wonky and getting weird and distracting and off
And not able
the
to like land because
yeah.
I think that's always her problem for me is she never is able to quite land what she's saying or doing for me
Hmm.
in any of those like big dramedies after Juno where
Hmm.
because she's trying to be funny but she's trying to put in these like deeper life messages and
Hmm.
meanings to them, and I
Yeah.
think she struggles like landing what it is she wants to convey at the
Yeah.
end. So when she gets to do something like Jennifer's Body and Lisa Frankenstein that have more fun in how they deliver the feminist message she wants to do, she
Hmm.
she focuses it much more in and is able to channel it through the genre better
Hmm.
than dramedies, which, in fairness to her, I mean, Judd Apatow has the exact same problem. All he does is write dramedies, and so often they just go on for way too long and they just
Yeah.
jump off the rails, and you're like, what are we doing anymore?
To
Like,
be fair, I think she was writing Tully and Young Adult in that time period with Judd Apatow, and where like
all of them.
comedy had gone off into this really weird, meandering, not actually funny spot where they were like all trying to make a drama that
Really?
was like
Yeah.
kind of funny, and they just like kept letting actors talk too much.
The
I don't think,
2010s was a weird
it was
comedy
a weird time
range.
for comedy. I think it's like, we could do a whole thing, but I think it's like you had like in the 2000s to like 2010, you had a lot of those like full on raunchy comedies. You had these like really obvious
Oh,
broad strokes
a
comedies.
little bit offensive.
Yeah, full on offensive. And then Judd Apatow comes out and he starts out with Knocked Up. Knocked Up was like huge, right?
Which was
Was it, did
raunchy.
he?
So it was like a nice
Yeah.
little raunchy, but then pull it in and
Yes.
start trickling in his other
Uh-huh.
style.
And
And
then
that's
he
kind of
did
what she
super
does with
bad. Super bad to the
Juno.
same. Yeah, and I think that was the style for a while, but I also think that it's not like good. I would like to move out of that as the style.
Just
It's just because it's meandering and it's not that funny, and it's like I
maybe
would really
are
like
we
to
just
go.
millennials? Because like I'm like
We are in fact
honestly, I
millennials.
mean we are, but I'm like there's some that I think obviously need to just be left in the early 2000s to never be heard of or
Sure.
seen again. But there's a lot of them that are like Gen Z find quite offensive that I still think are hilarious. So I'm like, oh my, oh, ah. Give me something fun. I need to laugh. Like that's the problem.
Yeah.
Give me an hour and a half film that is funny and actually
Yeah.
trying to be funny. And if it misses some, oh well, because there's another joke 5 seconds later that I
Hmm.
find funny compared to these long, drawn out dramedies. They were all like 2 hours plus, 2.5 hours long. And you're like,
There's
what?
and it bled
Oh,
into television for a while too, where like everything that was supposed to be a comedy was actually a dramedy, and it was like just like every it was like if it wasn't the just the line between a drama and a comedy got completely blurred, and it was like if it was a if it was a drama that dealt with anything that wasn't like obviously dramatic, then it was a comedy, dramedy. It
we're still,
became
oh, trust me, the Emmys and TV people are still fighting in the streets over like Barry and the Bear. They're like, this is a what? Like, this isn't a comedy. Why are we putting it in the comedy sphere? And
right.
other people are
I would
like,
like my Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Clearly a comedy. Obviously, there's jokes. It's hilarious. It's funny. I like it.
yeah. And I think that was, yeah. So I'm kind of glad.
I would
You know
much
what?
prefer
I wonder
like
if she could pull
Succession.
something out. I wonder if she could pull
Who?
something off. Like, I do appreciate this about Diablo Cody is that, obviously it's something that she's passionate about writing, like female centered topics is like
Uh-huh.
her jam. No matter what it is, no matter where she's writing it about, it's centered on a woman and her life
Uh-huh.
and whatever she's going through in whatever time she's in. So I appreciate that because I feel like even some women writers, they get lost in the sauce. So I appreciate that we have a director like that. But I wonder if she could pull off like a little bit raunchier because that's like kind of been the craze right now is female raunchy
Female raunch is a
comedies.
thing,
Female
yeah.
raunch ever since Bridesmaids, that kind of really kicked off and showed people like, oh, we can have successful, hilarious female raunchy comedies. Imagine that.
Women can be
Bridesmaids.
funny. What?
And
I think,
now, like last
yeah.
year alone, we had Bottoms, we had Joyride, we had No Hard Feelings. I mean, like they were coming out fast and
Yeah.
furious last year. So I don't know if she'd be able to pull something off like that if that's in her
I feel
wheelhouse,
like that would
but
be a good idea. I think she also maybe is like, there's certainly something about like she's ahead of her time, and I mean this in a like, she is probably one of the first like feminist or like writers that like was writing clearly feminist work and wasn't
Mhm.
trying to like hide it as something else. And I think she got a lot of like pushback from that. Like Juno was huge, and it feels like Jason Reitman got a lot more out of that than she did, having written it and won this Oscar. And like if you go through her like Wikipedia, it's just like a wash with projects that got like touched and then kind of like left off and just like never did anything with, or like got dropped or this or that. She was apparently writing trying to make us a biopic for Madonna, and then she like found it in a final draft and then in like 2022, and then just the entire project got scrapped. I would put money on that being a
Leak it.
Madonna problem.
Leak it. Somebody who
Make it
has the
Diablo.
script, leak it. I need to see it.
I definitely think like her entire career has been like a little bit stunted by the time period in which she is writing and the reactions to it as it is, right?
Well,
Like
yeah.
Jennifer's Body is a perfect example of like if she had put out that movie in 2023, 2024, I don't think there would have been I don't think there would have been anywhere near the like
Oh,
negativity and the pushback that it got. I think you would have had a different person from Megan Fox, and maybe that was part of it too. But like, I think you can't ignore the problems of Hollywood and the way that it perceives and treats women. In the in any conversation about Diablo Cody and like her career overall, especially considering
yeah.
so many of her
No, agree.
films are so female centric that she keeps trying to make these movies that are like women's stories
And
and
you just look at it, and like you said, I mean, because her page isn't as long as some of her other writing counterparts, even.
Mhm,
And she's an Oscar winner on her first feature film. She won
mhm.
an Academy Award, and we see that often with these young actresses, like even masterclass people who are getting like little roles here and there, but like you hear it from like Lupita Nyong'o, who was like, I got like no offers after I won my Oscar. The people just I had to go out and fight for roles again immediately. Like they weren't there. Um, and you look at like the 2000s and before, all of our feminist projects were written by men. So they were like feminism through the viewpoint of men giving us good female characters, and we love them. Like we all love Thelma and Louise, we all love Ridley, we all love all these Terminator, all that. But they were all written by men.
Still have like they have a feminism that's colored by like masculine qualities
Yeah.
placed on top of these women to make them unique women, right? Like Thelma and Louise start murdering people. They turn to violence, right? That makes them interesting female characters. Ridley, she's tough,
Yeah.
right? She starts acquiring these
Yeah.
masculine qualities that make her different from another woman. And I think Diablo Cody doesn't do that.
No.
Diablo Cody just writes a woman that's like a fully fleshed out, complicated character that you have to
Yeah.
kind of like,
It's messy.
yeah, they're messy. Yeah, and I would say, right, like I think that the description of both young adult and
Yeah.
Tully would be that they are messy. I think Tully is a little more excusable based on like the
Yeah.
context of the film. But yeah, these women are messy and they're not just like tough ladies or what have you. And Jason Reitman directed those ones as well.
Yeah, I was like,
Um,
girl, get away from Jason Reitman.
I just
I'm
yeah,
glad. Well, I
well,
mean, obviously she did for
she
Lisa
did,
Frankenstein,
yeah,
and it worked. But
right.
could you imagine if Jason Reitman had directed Lisa? It would have been terrible. See, that's
I think
that's a good example. It would have been a hot mess,
that's
y'all.
another like key, right? Is that like maybe she needs somebody who's not a dude directing her
Yeah, I
movies
think
for them to like
fully.
Yeah, for them to, I'm just looking at Jennifer by 5.5 rating on IMDb, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's directed by Karen Kusama. So, yeah, it's like as soon as like a female
It's their
perspective
hand.
moves into it, we all of a sudden we can't stand it. We hate it. Oh my God, there's too
Everyone
much
hates it,
woman
but really it's her best
here.
film. Like really
Yeah.
these are her best movies,
Yeah.
arguably. Juno. We'll leave Juno out of the conversation because Ren has a different opinion and everybody kind of just puts that up here and then the rest of her stuff is fighting for second place. But
Yeah.
her two horror comedies are directed by women, and those are the ones we're like, yes,
That the critics
yes.
panned immediately and we're like, no, but and then everybody else is like, no, they're incredible. I think you still have to contend with the like it's not even like it's not like they're like, oh, there's a woman who directed it and wrote it and it's about women
No.
stuff. It's
It's a
I think it's
taste.
all subconscious. Yeah, it's all taste. It's all because horror, because film has been dominated by a male gaze,
Hmm.
a male vision for so long, when it moves out of that
Yeah.
realm and we start to see things from the female perspective, it feels wrong. Unless you're a female and you're like, this is great.
Yeah. Unless you get it and you love
Unless
it.
you get it and then you love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it is interesting how much of her stuff ends up being divisive in that way, where
Hmm.
like there are people who just instantly are like, no, I don't like this, which is the kind of same thing that happened with Barbie, right? Like people like
Yeah.
some people watch it and they were immediately like, no, I don't like this. This is
Yeah, which I mean,
lame.
we still do have that, as much as we're trying our best to break through. I remember Turning Red, the Pixar movie
Yeah.
that was an allegory for her getting her period, obviously. And they actually have tampons and pads. It was immediately so many reviews were saying it's just not for me. Like it's just I'm not the target audience, so they dismiss it and give it a
Hmm.
bad rating. And it
Hmm.
was all men, white men who were like, "Oh, I don't get it." Basically, it's not for me, so I don't like it.
Maybe
Also,
you shouldn't be a reviewer
yeah,
if
no.
you can't watch anything that isn't like
Well,
directly attached to
this
your
is
own identity and
this
be
is
able to
what we
objectively review it.
scream as POC, as queer people, and as women. It's always, and God forbid you're all three of those, you're really excluded.
Yeah.
You're screaming like I've had to empathize and find myself in men. White,
Yeah.
cis, straight men, my whole life. I've had to identify with them and make love, like love these characters and make
Yeah.
myself into them. You can do it too. You just have to
Yeah.
learn the skill. We've all learned the skill because we were
There's this,
forced to.
yeah, it's this empathy thing. I know.
We got to get there. So I think we're still fighting these battles. We're still trying to figure these things out. And I
Yeah.
think we're getting better, even though Barbie obviously turned into quite the divisive film last year. Even though it was the biggest box office of the year, there's still so many people woke trash, this, that, and the third. And other people were like, no, it's amazing. I love it. I'm glad it's Best Picture.
Yeah.
So we're still there, but
I was just thinking about this the other day. I really wonder how Barbie would have done, like in terms of like the best pictures and all the what all the more higher end stuff,
yeah.
if it wasn't helmed by Greta Gerwig, who already
Well,
has all of this cred behind her, like because everything already. I think if Diablo Cody had written Barbie, I don't think it would have done as well. Like
yeah.
I don't
No, I
know if
fully
it would
agree.
have been received as quickly and as easily and like taken as it's obviously high-minded feminist commentary, right? Like, because when Diablo Cody does it, we're like, stupid Jennifer's body is dumb,
It's
right? Or
true.
stupid Lisa Frankenstein, they don't even know what time period they're in. This is like, I don't understand. I like can't even fathom the people that like gave it zero. I
No,
could
well.
see not enjoying it as much as I did because it doesn't push as many of the like buttons for them, but I just don't like what on earth about this film could actually make you be like, this is one of the worst films I've seen all year. Like,
Yeah, I
really?
don't get it either. And I fully agree. Greta has, she's kind of an Oscar darling. I think that's one of the key factors people were missing last year and why everybody was so outraged specifically about Greta Gerwig not getting into director was just because it was like, well, you all love her. You've nominated her. Well, actually, she got snubbed for Little Women too. People were like, what the fuck? Okay. But so they're like, she's gotten her one director nom,
I
and
know.
then you continually nominate her movies for Best Picture, but you don't even nominate her for Best Director
Hmm.
for her movies. And so she gives you the biggest movie of the year, a movie that's like helmed of helping, lift up your entire industry for 2023.
Hmm.
And you obviously loved it. You gave it 8 nominations, but still that director, that woman director wasn't good enough in your eyes to get in. And I think that's what people were like, okay, this is why we're mad more than it just being Barbie or Greta Gerwig. It's kind of the full picture that looks like that's a little bit weird, don't we think?
Yeah.
And but I agree, she's the darling there. Thankfully, I
Yeah.
think screenplay now is much more female occupied when it comes to the Oscars. So
Yeah.
that's at least good because I think when Diablo Cody was breaking through with Juno,
Yeah,
it
that was huge. It
was
was so
huge.
weird when she won. It was like, who the hell is this woman? Look at her weird tattoo. She's not wearing a huge, elegant gown, right? 'Cause she's like,
Yeah.
the first thing she ever read, and she was like, "Oh my god, I get to go to the Oscars!"
What?
Like,
Which
yeah,
is great, and I agree. I think just her 2010s were more sparse, and they were up and down in quality. It was a mixed bag, and I think maybe that's really skewed people. But I think I agree with you. I think maybe we've been a little hard on Diablo overall because I think now people are kind of like, oh God, Diablo Cody again. Here she is. She's back again with another one. And it's kind of
yeah,
like, well, why do we think that way? Why do we feel that way about her? What has she really done to
yeah.
be so like dismissed?
And I think it's also just like general like screenwriting, but I remember watching a documentary about like screenwriting in general, and she was one of the people I interviewed, and she said that like she had won, same deal. She won an Oscar for her first screenplay, and then she like couldn't sell another screenplay for it. Like she still
Yeah.
had to hustle the same way to get the screenplays sold. And Hollywood is just also like, talk about Nepo babies. It's always been
Oh,
that way. Like it's literally just an entire, I mean, every industry has nepo babies. It's just like an easier to see in
yeah.
Hollywood because you literally saw their parents and other things. But like, I think it's really hard to break
Oh,
out of that nepotism cycle
well,
because
these people get so mad too. These actors and stuff get so angry. It's like, y'all, we call out the other way. If we see it in our office, you think people aren't like, oh, he's just the boss's son. Like that is like a
yeah,
common thing. Oh, he just is here because he's the boss's son or whatever, like
yeah.
it gets called out literally everywhere. It's not just Hollywood. You were just famous.
But yeah, it does seem like she's had to like really hustle. She like it doesn't seem like at any point she's gotten like to just kind of chill and
Feel
sit back and
safe.
like whatever she wants to make gets made. That she's just like
Oh
not
no.
gotten there. And I don't think I couldn't point to any woman directors, women screenwriters, women creators in general that anything they want to do they can do. Meryl Streep, anything
Other
she
than
wants to do
Greta
she can
Gerwig
do.
right now.
Based on my experience, maybe time has moved forward. One flop and they'll be like, oh wow,
No,
we
it's
can't
true.
trust her anymore. Right? Like men can have like six flops before we care, but no, no. Just watched Sleepless in Seattle yesterday for Valentine's Day, and that movie was written by three people. It's not just Nora Ephron. There was like three different people on that movie. Oh
Sometimes you
man,
look at these screenwriters and you are like, what the hell?
why do we need six people to write this movie?
What? To write that? I mean, something like
Sometimes it's
Sleepless.
like, oh well, that makes sense.
Yeah, sometimes you're like, ooh, okay, I see where you came in, and I see no, I see all the
I
pieces.
But I will say the editing thing is not, I wouldn't, that's not
No,
just
the
Greta
editing.
Gerwig. That is like a
Listen,
systemic fucking problem. Like
listen.
I think that here's my theory. It's because we got so many fanboys and fangirls demanding director's cuts of film that they somehow conflated this idea that the director's version of the film, entirely unedited, was the correct
Mm,
version of the film. And so now they do so little to limit the director's vision of how this film should get put together that they end up these meandering nonsense, way too long fucking films
yeah,
that are way longer than
no,
they
I
need.
agree.
There's no reason that for decades they were telling us a whole story in an hour and a half, 2 hours when it was a really big story. And now all of a sudden we can't tell any story in less than 2 hours. This is my point blank. There's no fucking reason any comedy in the world should be
Oh no.
longer than an hour and 45. If your comedy is
Oh,
longer than an hour 45, you fucked up. Yeah,
I
guaranteed.
hate it. Oh, I
Guaranteed
hate
there
to
is
see it.
15 minutes worth of not that funny jokes you left
Oh.
in your movie. Cut them, get it down, get it tight, get it funny.
And literally,
Please,
all
for
of
the love
this
of God.
just kind of contributes to why we loved
Cycling
Lisa
back
Frankenstein
to Lisa
and
Frankenstein, that
why
was
we're
tight.
back. It's tight. It's directed by a woman, written by a woman, and
Yes.
gives us a clear vision of what they
Yes.
wanted.
Yep.
And I'm glad to see Diablo back on that. Obviously, she's not gonna. She's still not safe because this didn't get the critical acclaim that maybe they would have hoped. So
Nah,
she's
but you
still
know
gonna
what?
have to fight for it.
I hope that she's learned her lessons from this and from Jennifer's Body for sure. And just like know that her
Yeah.
thing is not going to be the critics' cup of tea, but the people that are watching, the people that she's writing it for, they appreciate it and they love it and they like it. And we're going to buy tickets to see her films. And that matters. So I hope that she takes her lesson and she's like, you know what? They can say whatever the fuck they want. I'm going to keep writing the shit that I know that my audience wants
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
see.
And
Because we
sometimes
do. Please
sometimes
lean in,
as a
Diablo.
writer or a director, you have to just do that. Like you just have to at a certain point in your career, you just have to be like, F any of it. Like I know
Yeah.
my audience, I know the films I make and who likes them, and I'm gonna make that kind of film. And I think at this point that's probably the best way to go for her. And keep on tracking, girl. We
Yeah.
loved your latest project. It's gonna be a traditional watch around here.
Yes.
And Zelda, I look forward to seeing what you're up to next. Catherine, stick to this subgenre. Like this is where you are killing it.
Yeah.
Freaky, Lisa Frankenstein. This is like a great niche for you that I hope you do more of. You know, spread your wings, do serious projects too. That's fine, but every now and then come back to this because I think you shine here.
Killing
All
it.
right.
Also,
Well,
Carla Gugino, just, you keep doing you.
also
You're killing it always.
do whatever you want, Carla Gugino, because you're fabulous and wonderful, and we'll love you in any and
You
everything.
elevate anything that you are a part of.
You are
We are
you are
not
an
worthy.
icon that I'm glad Mike Flanagan is like has you in rotation because I feel like you don't get the like big recognition you deserve because you're like literally a screen icon and we love you.
You need to watch The House of Usher and then let's do a Mike Flanagan episode because
It's true. I'm
he's so good. I
look.
could.
This is how, and before we get off here, since Carla brings us back to Mike. This is how like anti just streaming I am. Not even just TV for the most part. I'm just like not all about that. I'll do streaming every now and then. Ren has watched like all of the horror stuff on streaming, and I've watched like none of it, including the movies. Like half of the movies
Mhm.
that go to streaming that are horror, I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't.
I'm
What's
at
that?
home all the time. It's a lot harder. It's expensive for me to go out and watch a movie. I gotta get babysitter, do a whole thing.
Yeah.
I
So
can
I'm
bring.
like,
Alamo does do their like Tuesdays where you can do
yeah.
all ages, but she's also getting to the age where she can like talk. So I can't take her to the things that are like, I have to go see like fun things exclusively. I can go
Yeah.
see like kid
It's
things.
like
That's what I
it's
can have with
horrible.
my
I
friends.
mean, and it really makes absolutely no sense because I'll see dog trash in a movie theater. Like it could be like, and
I
I'll know, like
know.
I'll watch the trailer and be like, this looks absolutely terrible, and yet I'll still walk into that movie theater and watch it. But if it comes to streaming, it has to
You're like,
work for my view.
nah.
It has
Oh
to earn
man.
that view.
You got to, especially as the horror connoisseur that you are,
And
you
everyone
got
loves
to
those
watch
House
this.
of.
Yes, man. They're
They
so
love those
good.
Mike Flanagan series.
Yeah,
Like
man. He's
everybody
incredible.
has nothing but praise for them, and yet
The
here I
shit
am.
sticks in your brain forever and ever and ever. You just sit dwelling on it. But I don't. I'm not even subscribed to the subreddit, but the Reddit knows I want it. The House of Usher. This thing came out like 2 years ago. People are still like, I've watched it 6 times. People are crazy. It's incredible. But anyways,
But
yes, you
anyways,
should.
I should
Yes.
definitely do that. And we'll talk about Mike Flanagan. I think up next, we're heading back to the very long, sweeping epic of the season with Dune 2, Ren.
Oh yes, we're gonna do Dune. We did the first Dune,
We
didn't
did
we?
do the first
Yes,
Dune
we
because you read the
did.
book, so you were a good
Did.
comparison meter, or as read as
Yes.
much as you could.
I
So we'll
did. I
see.
read the I read the whole first book, which
Oh,
I think is funny. All you gotta do is like, you only gotta get through the one book. Yeah, I no, I thought about rereading it, and I'm like, I don't know if I can
I
do
can't do it. I
it
can't do it.
again.
But very different film there. So we'll probably be back for
Quick
June
aside,
2.
my friend was like, I haven't only read through half of Dune, and I don't really get the role of the Zendaya character. Does she get like bigger? No, she doesn't.
She
why
might
do
in
they
the
why do they market her so much? Because she's Zendaya and she's
yeah.
famous.
It's like
That's why.
they might give her more to do just because of who she is. They might give her more screen time. I don't know, but yeah,
I don't know.
no.
He's pretty loyal to that book, man. She's a fucking incubator, is what she
But you
is.
know, we have Florence Pugh coming on board. We got an all-star cast for the second one. If nothing else, it's an
I
all-star cast.
we thought the first one was great, so let's check it out.
We'll
At
check
the
it
very
out.
least, the fucking costumes will be
The
incredible.
cinematography will be stunning,
The
so we're ready
music
for it.
and the sound design will be
Good
incredible.
old
We'll get
Hans
to
Zimmer will shake us to our core with that original
absolutely
score.
yes.
So, very different coming up next, but I'm glad we got to talk because if you follow our podcast for, the time it's up or know me and Ran at all,
Here's there.
we love our campy horror Halloween anything, really.
Yeah,
It doesn't even have to be horror. Halloween, campy darkness is right up both of our alleys. So, yeah, of course we had to come and talk
we
about Lisa
had to do some
Frankenstein.
Lisa Frankenstein. Yes,
So thank you
yes.
for watching. Thank you for following along with us on our little hiatus. So we've made plans to make this more consistent, and
Hmm.
that's our mission in 2024
Once a
to
month,
get back.
once a month, at
We
the very
started
least.
strong. We're coming back. We're coming back. This year we have musicals too. I'm sure we'll do Wicked because Ren.
I saw the original on Broadway and previews. That's my like
Ah.
nerdy theater kid claim to fame.
Also, side note, I told Ren I had to strong arm her because I was like, Ren, you need to watch Theater Camp. Like as soon as I walked out of that movie theater, I was like, Ren, you are Theater Camp. I'm like, what?
I
No.
mean, I had not heard of it. He sent me a trailer. It's not like I fought him on it. I just hadn't heard of it. And then as soon as I saw the trailer, I was like, oh yeah, it's obviously I
As
have to watch
soon
this
as I walked
movie.
out of the movie theater, I was like, Ren,
I also
watch
sent
this
it to
movie called
every
Theater
theater
Camp.
kid I knew and was like, hello, yes, you all need to watch this because it's us.
But Exhibit A, she saw Wicked original
Yep.
run on Broadway.
Yes.
Just
So,
so we
well,
know. So,
I'm
we have
jazzed.
we have things this year. We have
I'm
things this
jazzed to
year.
have ideas, to have thoughts, to have strong thoughts.
Well, make sure you are following us wherever so that you are here as we get back on our consistent train here. And follow us on other social medias. Ren, where, how,
Try Instagram. Ready Food 13.
and
And
Audacious.
I sometimes post stuff on Twitter, very rarely, but I'm Ren Manley on Twitter.
And then Audacious wherever you can find
Oh
me.
yeah, and Audacious Immersive, Audacious Theater. If you're in the Denver area, we do a lot of fun stuff. We're all about that entertainment thing.
And of course, follow me at Chili Boy Productions on YouTube, Instagram, and Chili Boy YT on Twitter, and then Cinema Snarks. So you see when we do post on Instagram and over on Twitter as well.
And subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. That's what they always say.
Perfect. Well, and rate us. Give us ratings. It helps move
Yes.
us up too. All of the podcasty things.
There's a lot
So
of people that are doing podcasts about films,
yes,
so
it's a very crowded space, but here we are.
but if
Anyway,
you love us,
which you should. Even if you only see us twice in the last year, still love us. Anyway, thank you for listening to this long one through all of our rambles and our fun discussion, and we will see you or talk with you over your speaker. The next one.
we're
Bye.
gonna be in your ear holes soon.
Catch us in your ear hole next time.
Your ear holes and your eye holes, depending on where you are getting this podcast. Bye.